Oh, wow. So I can post a Sunday live video. Can you guys see me? Okay. All right. All right. So I can't post actual written posts on my wall, but I can post a video. Hey, hey, hey. So I'm truly surprised. So maybe it is a glitch with Facebook. So, okay. All right. I don't know. I'm tripping on that. So I'm glad. So tell everybody in the group that they can do it through, go through my Facebook page. Okay. So good morning, everybody. I wanted to go over just from beginning to end this protocol for anyone that is not familiar with what I'm doing from beginning to end, because I know the files are a lot. Believe me, I know. And of course, I've been doing this since April, which means that I was probably all over the place in the beginning. And I did kind of revise some of the videos from April and then revised it in July, but I was still healing. Okay. So, which means that I probably did tighten up my speeches a little bit, but it's still one of those things where it's always a continuous process improvement. Okay. So, and it is glorious, you guys. I'm really, really happy to see you all. So anyways, so hopefully Facebook will fix that glitch. All right. But I have a protocol that can reverse all cancer, disease, and chronic illness from A to Z. So from asthma all the way to Z, whatever that symptom is. So as long as you're not a major organ transplant patient or a surrogate mom carrying a fetus from someone else's DNA. Okay. So that ought to tell you something, that the body is supposed to purge out foreign objects that don't belong. And then, of course, in the process, rebuild. Okay. So you understand the concept. If you are a major organ transplant patient, a heart, 2 lungs, and a liver, then you can't do this. Because if you have 2 lungs, right, that are gone and you have a lung transplant, there's no other backup lung for you to use while you're regrowing your lungs. All right. If you have 1 working lung and then 1 transplant, it'll shut down that 1 transplant, find a way to move that transplant to the side and regrow that second lung, because that first lung or the other lung is your backup. Okay. So yes, if you're missing or have a kidney transplant, or you're on dialysis, pancreas, gallbladder, thyroid missing, you have missing organs, and you can live without missing organs. You can live on or off the medication with missing organs. Yes, you can do the protocol. Okay. So this, I have a protocol that can definitely reverse. However, it's all relative to your commitment level and your understanding. So it's not a guarantee. Because I'll tell you what, there are many people that will stop themselves from healing because of their disbelief and their programming. All right. So what is cancer, disease, and chronic illness? Remember, everything is arguable, especially when it comes to parasites. However, I did isolate that Candida, Mycoplasma, biofilm, cancer, yeast infections, mycoid plaque, whatever. Okay. That is all the same thing. All right. Because what I found is that yeast is natural to your body. It's naturally occurring because it's supposed to clean up the blood from all of the sugars and the heavy metals. However, when you overfeed a yeast, it turns virulent and it turns into a fungus and it overtakes the body. And what happens? It lowers the immune system. And so I'll get into more about what feeds that yeast later on. But when it lowers the immune system, it allows the foreign objects to be able to flourish and sustain itself, which means that's why major organ transplant patients have to have an immunocompromised system, because the body will reject it. That's why surrogate mothers carrying somebody else's DNA has to be on some kind of antibiotic to keep her immune system degraded and lowered to be able to carry that baby to term. So that's essentially what having an overinfestation of Candida does. It allows the parasites to flourish. Now, the virus microbes, they actually get attached. They dock to the Candida. Okay. which is called protein docking, and they do it in the School of Pharmacology because that's how they test for all the new drugs. They create the issue and they create the drug for it to then find a way for a market, because you all are, infested and you all are afflicted. But there's so many different viruses: HPV, AIDS virus, the herpes virus, the Ebola virus, all these different viruses, even the influenza virus that you get in the flu shots. That is all gets attached to the candida. So when you have an overabundance of candida, you have an overabundance of the virus microbes. And that's why you have a lowered immune system. That's why every year you guys get the same illnesses every year. And I did too. It was just like clockwork. Around the holidays, I was always sick. Now I haven't seen sickness in like about 2 years, maybe, since the summer of 2016. So over a year and a half, I have not been sick. Okay, so we don't know if parasites are causing lupus. We don't know. There could be a mutated virus. I mean, we don't know exactly what specific diseases, all right, from A to Z. And where do these, and I'll talk about that in a minute, where these diseases come from, or all the different symptoms. But we don't know if parasites are the cause behind certain diseases from A to Z. We know that there's certain virus microbes because we know about the AIDS virus, the influenza virus. So we're hearing about viruses all over the world, right? And then we know that candida is cancer, mycoplasma biofilm, yeast infection, because that's just an overabundance of a specific needed item in your body that the body got out of balance. And then now it's creating this monster in your body. So how does the candida and the virus microbes and the parasites manifest? Well, they manifest in mutations of the body that has been mainstreamed. Hence why I call my group Exposing the Lies, Candida Weaponized Fungus Mainstreaming Mutancy. They are mainstreaming the mutancy. How do they mainstream it? Well, you've seen all over the place. The autism, the breast cancer, all of that. So how does that manifest? Mutations in the body, whether it's stagnant healing. So if you got in a car accident and you got an amputation, well, you're not regrowing that limb or that hand because your body is in an immunocompromised state. All symptoms in the DSMV, so in the psychotherapy world, psychology world, the psychiatry world, all of your symptoms in those DSMV manuals are symptoms of cancer, disease, chronic illness, viruses, and parasites. PubMed, so everything that's in PubMed. Good morning, everybody. Everything that's in the CDC, Johns Hopkins University, every single, university that deals with health issues will have a list of all of the mutations that they are studying. Okay, and also violence, depression, anything anomalous to good health, cravings, early death, and aging. One of the biggest huge things of how the cancer, disease, and chronic illness is manifesting is the early death, the aging process. So if you see somebody that's over 55, and you can tell in our matrix society, when someone's over 40 or over 50, they look like it, right? Because their hair is graying, their skin is wrinkling up, they may not have the memory like they used to, they have osteoporosis, their bones are decaying. I mean, you can see the cell degradation in people just like your grandparents, because our society has mainstreamed that it's okay to have to die before 100. Okay? So early death and aging is the hugest manifestation of cancer, disease, and chronic illness, and parasites and virus microbes. Okay? So make a note of that, because if you are actively aging and you're holistic, your methodology is not working. All right. So make sure you make a note of that. The aging and early death is a manifestation, because that will be something that you're going to be measuring how well you're doing, is when you are reversing your aging process. So what keeps the mutations in place? What keeps your violence in place? What keeps your aging process in place? What keeps your stump on your hand from not regrowing it into a hand? Well, the antibiotics and the allopathic and the holistic industry. Because all the pills, powders, and supplements are antibiotic. And they're either given by the allopathic industry in a form of a synthetic antibiotic or pills to manage all of your diseases, regardless of what it is, whether it's low dose chemo to magnesium pills, anything in the holistic industry, pills, powders, supplements, herbs, extracts, you realize that the herbs out there in your garden, natural and fresh, is no different than the antibiotics of Cipro that's made in a lab. Okay? The only difference is one is made in a lab and the other one's in nature. But they both have the same effect. They both destroy your gut health. Yeah, they might manage your pain for a certain amount of time, temporarily. They manage symptoms. But they don't get to the root of the issue. And why don't they get to the root of the issue? Because it's not allowing you to regrow and regenerate cells, because you've just stifled the voice in your body, which is the pain mechanism, which means it's healing. When you're in pain, it means you're healing. Okay? So whenever you manage your pain by taking whatever antibiotic, pill, powder, supplement, whatever, all right, then you've just stifled, you put tape over your own mouth. And that is why the holistic industry and the allopathic industry are two wings on the same vulture, because they both stifle the body's voice. One just seems a bit more friendlier, Mother Earth friendlier, because that's their whole marketing plan. That's their marketing strategy. Oh, we're different from the lab because you can go out in Mother Nature and go pick your own cilantro and pick your own onions and eat them. And yes, it may kill off a few critters. It may kill off a few candida, bunches, but it doesn't regenerate cells. So you're not actively regenerating more than you're degrading. And that's the whole point of this, is you're actually degrading yourself more than you're regenerating when you're taking antibiotics. Whether it's garlic, ginger, turmeric, bentonite clay, diatomaceous earth, turpentine, cinnamon, cayenne pepper, lemons, grapefruits, anything that's bitter, all bitter herbs, anything that's so pungent that it stings to the touch. Because if you actually dove your head into a vat of garlic oil, you would destroy and disintegrate and dissolve. It would just be like acid. If you jumped into a vat of all the essential oils, you would dissolve. That's how you have to look at it. Okay? So you don't want to jump into a vat of peppermint oil, because that would kill you. So when you're taking these little bit of antibiotics to manage your pain, what do you think you're doing? You're slow killing yourself. Right? Okay. So that is why, that's what keeps the mutation in place. That's number one. Number two, sugar of all types. So synthetic sugar to organic sugar to honey to syrup to agave syrup to aspartame, which is the synthetic sugar, to sucralose to Splenda, to the pink and the yellow and the blue packages you see at the restaurants, all the sugars and the sugar substitutes, stevia, all of that feed candida, even fruit sugars. But I'll tell you the difference between fruit sugars and my protocol as I move through this process when we talk about the actual protocol. But all of that, all sugars feed the candida and the parasites. Okay, so make note of that. Also the empty carbs, the whole gluten-free industry. When you're taking nut powders and nuts and then, making them into a powder, or rice, or anything that isn't wheat that is used in as a substitute for wheat because of the whole, celiac disease, what you're doing with the nuts, especially with the good nuts, you're roasting it or you're cooking these nuts and these nut powders, and you're rendering all the nutrition out of them and turning it into a simple sugar and a simple carbohydrate that turns into sugar in your system and feeds the candida. So the empty carbs, like rice, of course, the wheat, corn, soy, which is a hormone disruptor. What else? The nut powders, anything that's said that's gluten-free as a substitute for wheat will feed candida. Okay? So we're not trying to turn your food into simple sugar or into something that's going to feed the candida or the parasites. Also, pollution. No xylitol, Jerry. Okay. All right. So pollution, heavy metals, EMF, that's what keeps the mutations in place. All right. So pollution such as the chemtrails in the skies. All right. The heavy metals such as, well, that's what's in the chemtrails in the skies, the mercury, the barium, anything that you get from any of these industries that I live within right next to an oil refinery. That's all keeps the mutations in place. Also EMF. All right. So that is a radiation from the smart meters, your Wi-Fi radiation, your modem radiation, these huge cell towers, all of that keep the mutations in place. Of course, all pills, powders, and supplements. Okay. What else? Programming, what you've been told, your families and your friends reinforcing your illness. So what you've been told, I mean, look, when you watch TV, when your mom and your dad pass down traditions to you and tell you, okay, well, I have breast cancer in my family and you have it too because it's in our family illness. And so you better watch what you eat because that's what you have to look forward to if you don't, type of thing. So you have programming. It's your family and friends who are completely unaware and they're taught by their family and friends and their little tight circles and cliques. And so they keep reinforcing the early death process to each other. And that's how they fall over the same cliff together. All right. Ownership of your illness. People that own their illness. Oh, my cancer, my lupus, my fibromyalgia, my PMDD. I even am guilty of it too occasionally. Okay. My prosthetic. When you own your disease, you are saying that you are giving life to it and it's there for life. And that is what creates the mutations and keeps it in place. Okay. Some people are highly infested. Like they have so many parasites in their body. The parasites have a soul and a conscience of their own because they have a will to live too. They know how to use their host to make you crave foods to feed it. They tell you when to sleep. They tell you when to poop. They tell you, you have things in your body that are hive-minded. And when you're highly infested by all of these little demons, parasites, they will stop you from trying to get better because they want to live. When they see you trying to down my recipe, they will find every way to stop you. Okay, so highly infested people, massive infestation is going to keep the mutations in place because now you're dealing with another entity in your body that is alive, that wants to live and doesn't want you to kill it. And that's why there's so much salt fear, because there are highly infested parasites that don't want to die from the salt. But the human will live from the salt, but the parasites don't. And that's the difference, okay? So fear, all right? Fear is the number one factor of why mutations stay in place. Because people are fearful of new information. The parasites have gotten control of them. Their family and their friends gotten control of them. The government agencies have been, scared into people. That is what keeps mutations in place is fear. Fear, 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 fear. And then, of course, all these different programmings and the sugar and, of course, our diet, and all of the different industries that cater to managing your symptoms, regardless if they look natural or not. Okay? So when you're looking at any guru, look at their face. Don't look at their body because there's some very, great looking bodied health gurus out there that have a very asymmetrical face, like completely asymmetrical. Or they don't show their full face because they don't want you to see how asymmetrical, but I will show you my full face. And I know some of you have taken some pretty nasty screenshots of me and posted them as your profile pic, but whatever. But I'll tell you that I think my face is pretty symmetrical for the most part. But I'm still healing like most people are during this process. I'm only a year into this and we have no idea what perfect and normal is until we go through this process. All right. So how does our society reinforce the aging and mutation process? Well, we have the business models. I just look in my own town and I live in a small town And I live away from California, which means that I don't have all that extra distraction in California that you have. But it's still all the same thing. But here in Ohio, I see so many gyms because exercise destroys your body, just so you know. Massive amounts of exercise destroys your body. So be careful. Don't do exercise on the protocol. We have chiropractors that are not doing my protocol. So there are some chiropractors on my Facebook page that are doing the protocol, and kudos to them, and they're giving promotion to it. So I'm not putting those in the mix because they are actively promoting this, which means it's going to help themselves and their business, because there's plenty of people that need to be healed, and it does take a while for people to heal. And if you can be there for them, amazing. Okay. So chiropractors, the ER clinics, the hospitals, that's what reinforces the mutations. Let's see. Holistic and Western medicine, so all these different, natural health stores. The funeral, I have like just down the street 2 funeral parlors. Okay, so funeral homes, the churches. What else? The grocery stores reinforce the mutation and the aging process because of the fact of all the different holidays and the different foods, the processed foods, all of the restaurants in this area. What else? Because it's all worm food. I'm trying to think of the mall, because of all of the different, like the Hallmark greeting stores. Oh, your birthdays, when you blow the candle out, you're blowing out your 1 year of a flame of life, which means you're closer to death. I mean, the life insurance, because of their actuarial tables saying that really you can't buy insurance after 75 or 80 because it means that you're probably going to kick off any time now, and they don't want to have a huge payout when you only paid, $100. And if you do get life insurance at 75 because you're able to get that guaranteed acceptance life insurance, you're only going to be able to get $2,000. Exercise destroys your body, Marvan Perez, Vanessa. All right. It's a detox, and it degrades your cells. It puts undue duress on your muscles when it should be regenerating. Do not exercise on the protocol at all until you are 100%. And then you better be drinking my recipe to rebuild those destroyed muscles and tendons. So yeah, retirement packages on you. That's right. So all of that. So TV in Hollywood, all right, is another reinforcement of the aging process. I mean, I'm watching all the people that I grew up with in the 80s looking rather horrific. They've aged. Their face is so, like stretched out from plastic surgery. They look like they look like they're degrading. I mean, people that were like in their 40s when I was, when I was younger, now look like in their 70s or 80s, and they look hawkish, face gaunt, skin stretched over their bones. I mean, I'm walking around my town, okay, and people are heavily mutated and they're degrading. Like their life is being snuffed out by every bit of food that they're eating. Okay. So also the alien agenda. When they're saying, oh, wow, the aliens, the truther community and the aliens, talk about all these external aliens out there, which could possibly be so, but that's not even, part of our purview. It's the aliens inside of you that you have to worry about it. But they're all talking about the external aliens, which means it takes focus off inside of you, which is really what's causing all of your issues, those little aliens, little foreign objects in your body. And that's how they reinforce it, because they're not having you focus on the right things. They're distracting you with stupid stuff. Okay. Okay, very good, Lane. All right. So, yeah, they're mainstreaming the mutancies, the foundations, the run for breast cancer, run for lupus, run for MS, all the different awareness groups, the Lyme awareness group, fibromyalgia awareness group. I mean, anything that says, hey, give us money, like these children's hospitals and children's foundations. Nope, they're all experimenting on people. Human live experimentation. And they mentioned like autistic, foundations. It's just every single disease will have a foundation attached to it. That is what's reinforcing the normalcy of being mutated. War does it too, because we have our boys that are young and beautiful, and girls going off to war, exercising their authority to have a license to kill, and they come back mutated. Shrapnel wounds to missing limbs to PTSD. I mean, they come back a shell of a person. And some of them are pretty messed up. And divorce happens, the family unit degrades. They can't get a job, or if they do get a job, it's, very few and far between, because you see all these different war vets on the corner asking for money. You see them in wheelchairs at these different buffets, feeding their parasites. It's horrific what they've done to our young boys and girls. Okay. What else is reinforcing the aging cell degradation process in our society? The MLMs. All of your friends that sell pills, powders, and supplements are contributing to the demise of their society. Because would you really seriously take health advice from someone that is overweight, obese, have issues? No. Okay. It's like, what are you doing? You're going to be I don't know what would you call it. I don't even want to say a patsy, but you're being an agent for Big Pharma. And I don't think being an agent for Big Pharma is really what you want to be doing if you're an MLM person. But I guess that's what they've done with the whole holistic industry. They've mutated it. So makeup and plastic surgery. Well, when you're wearing so much makeup, you can't tell whether you're alive or dead, right? So, makeup hides a lot of stuff, but it really doesn't. Photoshop does too. Plastic surgery, but you can tell when someone has plastic surgery. I mean, it may look good the first couple times, right? Because they tweaked it here, tweaked it there. But then after so many years of plastic surgery, it's obvious. All right. Health insurance reinforces the aging process in our society and the mutations. Because the more you utilize your health insurance, the worse off you're going to be. The more you call your doctor, the more you visit the waiting room in the ER, the more you go and make appointments, you're going down that early death hole. And then there is the contrived truther community. Facts mixed with fiction. We have holistic professionals or people that are out there that claim to be holistic that mix the Illuminati, which is actually an entity that we can't really touch, right? And it gives focus on something that is unattainable, that is not accessible, when there's actually people that are accessible. And that's very controversial. And I'm not going to totally focus on it because I don't want to take this transmission in a different direction. But the truther community, facts mixed with fiction, is one of the biggest things that's reinforcing, because we have so many people that are focusing on the problem, but not enough on the solution. Or if they focus on the solution, it's a solution that is contrived by the allopathic and the holistic industry. And some of them want to interview me, and I'm not going to do it. So I thought about that when someone said, hey, I want to interview you. And this person, I friend requested them because they were a friend of my friend and they looked interesting. But as I look at their profile and looked at, that they basically have never promoted me and it's more of a setup, I'm not going to do it. But their profile has a mixture of some facts of stuff that I've taught you guys, right? And then some truther stuff about the Illuminati, and then a lot holistic. Detoxes, promoting different naturopathics. That's not my purview. So we have a mixture of the George Soros contrived truther community people that have mixed all of this stuff together to make it seem like it's viable and credible, when actually it's still catering to the two wings on the same vulture, the allopathic and the holistic, keeping you guys immunocompromised and an early death. So what can you do about it? All right, so we're talking about my protocol. My protocol, what it does, it is lacto-fermented cabbage, kale. You can do the same, like in one batch, or you can do it separate, okay? Water and salt, and it's lacto-fermented, which means lacto-fermentation is when it's breaking everything down. right? It's making it into a pre-digested form in an anaerobic, oxygen-free environment. And the byproduct of that whole chemical action and reaction is lactobacillus, but that's not the only component to my protocol. It's been the focus because the holistic industry has been promoting probiotics in reaction to candida. But then I'm telling you guys that it's more than just candida, it's virus microbes and parasites. Okay, so this is not just about candida, though it was a focus in the beginning, but the candida is what caused your being immunocompromised because it lowers your immune system. But the cabbage, water, and salt is, when it's lacto-fermented between 65 and 72 degrees for at least 3 days, will create enough lactobacillus to fight the candida, but that's not the only component. What really is a main component is making the nutrients in the cabbage and the kale and in the salt bioavailable. When you pre-digest something, you break it down to the most simplest pre-digested, form. It's made for easier absorption in your body. And that's why you're seeing the massive healing, process going on, and the healing, and the acceleration of the healing process is because you're getting massive amounts of this nutrition. Okay. Excuse me. I'm going to blow my nose. All right. So it is a trifecta process. All right. You get the cabbage, you get the water, you get the salt, you get the diet, and you get the healing symptoms. All right. I got to turn this heater down. No wonder my nose is running. Hold on a second. All right. So, all right. So it's the cabbage, water, and salt. And the salt and the water are conductors. Okay. So we're not using table salt because we've been establishing that table salt is synthetic. It has synthetic iodine that causes hypertension, hypernatremia, all the issues, high blood pressure, whatever, right? Because synthetic iodine is not good for you. All right. So only the good salt, the mineral salt that has at least 82 plus minerals. And that's why I say pink Himalayan salt all the way up to Celtic sea salt and then Baja Sea of Cortez salt, but nothing below that. All right. No real salt. Just do the pink salt, the Celtic sea salt, the gray salt, or the Baja Sea of Cortez salt. All right. And those have the massive amount of minerals that your body needs. Right? Because what it does is it's a conductor. It creates internal energy because our body is energy. What energy is when you're able to move around. When you guys find yourself low energy is because you don't have enough things that are creating energy in your body because you're being slowed down by the parasites and the fungus that are taking that energy and they're active multiplying, having sex with each other in your body and making eggs and then multiplying. So you don't want to give the wrong things in your body the energy. You want to give your body the energy, not the parasites or the fungus. So it's internal energy versus external energy. Our body's energy to create action to rebuild cells that have been broken because you have a very specific design of the human body. So it rebuilds the cells and it takes a while to do that. And it also purges out what doesn't belong. Okay, foreign objects, which, will be Western medicine to virus microbes, to pollution, to candida, to parasites, to even stents, bolts, implants, whatever, though your body is not going to purge it out if there's no safe exit point. There's other ways the body deals with things that it cannot safely purge out, and that is cartilage and scar tissue, or mostly cartilage. Because if you have something that's big enough in your body like a rod, the body can't just expel it. It's not going to destroy you while it's healing. That's not the purview of the body. The body will find a way to deal with it, push it to the side, and then rebuild what it needs to make sure that you stay alive. Okay? That's why you have to trust your body. You've been alive this long, as mutated as you are. Believe me, when you actually give it what it needs, it's going to even be in your corner more. You have to be able to reinforce it. All right. So when people are like, well, about the external energy, like, if our body is energy, then why doesn't electricity then reinforce? Because when you're getting external energy, like the outside, you're getting ionization waves, like radiation. And that creates a Warburg effect, such as the towers, the smart meters, the modem, all of that, right? And what it does, it the Warburg effect, when it's used in chemotherapy and radiation, it creates an aerobic glycolysis. Aerobic means oxygen-filled environment that creates sugar, like it creates sugar molecules to multiply. And it manipulates it to produce sugar molecules and mutates the yeast by overfeeding it. And let's see, and it's used to kill cancer in a high rate, because when you have a high rate of that radiation, it kills all cells, right? Even your body. That's why people look absolutely horrific when they come out of chemotherapy. Hair missing, everything. They look like they're almost dead, right? But when you have low rate, of the Warburg effect, like EMF, radiation, pollution, chemtrails, all that stuff, it feeds the cancer and it multiplies on a slower level, but eventually it does, accelerate in the process as you are degrading, because you're doing nothing to reinforce your antibodies. All right. So that's why the external radiation or external energy doesn't work. Only the internal energy using salt, the right kind of salt, which is a conductor, and the water, and then the nutrients in the cabbage and the kale. And you can Google the nutrients in the cabbage and kale. It's massive. Any cruciferous vegetable has a massive amount of nutrition. However, my protocol is just only cabbage and kale, water and salt, and then my diet, and then the healing symptoms. Okay. So the mechanisms that are involved is, I say the volume between 2 cups a day relative to your situation, because you might have Crohn's disease or you might have some kind of throat issue, and you can only do a little bit at a time to get the healing process started, all the way to 1 gallon plus a day. All right. And that's relative to how far gone you are. Some of you are let's say some of you are in hospice. Well, you're going to have to be doing massive amounts, which means that you're going to have to deal with pain, no antibiotics, no juice, no, only the juice, and maybe a little bit of vegetables, but no fruit. Okay. Because when you're in hospice, you can't afford to play the game of, I'm going to eat a piece of fruit and test it and see and be like, okay, or I'm going to go take an antibiotic for the pain. No, when you're in hospice, you cannot afford to manage your pain that way, because now you're like 1 foot in the grave, which means that you have to massively deal with the pain, because this process with the recipe, as I get to the next portion, is called the healing symptoms. Pain is healing. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, there you go. I got like dry skin on my lip and I'm talking, so I feel it. But anyways, so the healing symptoms, and that's everything to do with past issues, present issues, and future triggers. Okay. So whatever you dealt with in the past, like let's say you had a broken ankle, or you had carpal tunnel from a job that you were at a long time ago, or you had some kind of, drug habit, like psychotropic drugs or acid. You were acid tripping a lot when you were a teenager. That may come and revisit you. Let's say you were on some pretty heavy medications. That may come and revisit you. So let's say you had some trauma from the past, like a rape or, war trauma or a car accident or abuse. All of that stuff is going to come to surface. And it's going to come to surface. Some people, it'll be severe relative to what you were dealing with. Others will be very mild. Like I only had 1 day of a psychological trauma. And it just happened one day because I drank alcohol, and that kind of elicited things to come to surface, and then never again. And I don't recommend alcohol to anyone doing the protocol, but I was in the beginning for me. But that was one of the major psychological, demons that came to surface for me. So some past issues, and then also your present issues. I had PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So I had a lot of, cravings. I had a lot of sleep issues for my healing symptoms, yeast infections, you name it, whatever it is that you've been dealing with today is going to come to surface. It shouldn't be any worse than your worst day of sickness. However, we have to also factor in the future triggers, okay? Which is anything that you could possibly die from today if you kept continuing on your usual routine. So if you've never seen my protocol, never do it, and then all of a sudden you die today from heart disease or from some kind of cancer of sorts, it's because that was in the cards for you because of a dormant virus coming to surface and then triggering when all the conditions are right. So when you start feeling some, let's say you start feeling like heart palpitations, okay, and you're like, I've never dealt with any heart issues ever in my life. How come I feel like I'm going to have a stroke? It's because you're looking at possibly what you could be dying from in the future if you keep continuing with your usual routine. So now what we're doing is we're being proactive. We are inviting everything up to surface so you can deal with it as the body is healing. And yes, you're going to feel those very mild or somewhat severe symptoms, depends upon, how far gone you are and how big that dormant virus is. And then you'll get over it. So that's why I say, you guys, if you're on medication, if you are still needing to go to the hospital, that's fine. You can utilize your medication until you feel you don't need it. You can, but not the supplements or anything. You don't need the supplements. But any kind of medication, or you feel like you need to go to the doctor and do this and do that, I'm not saying not to. Please utilize Western medicine if you feel you need to as a backup for you, especially for those of you that have foreign objects in your body, like rods, steel, rods and titanium stents and bolts and screws and whatever, because at some point you're going to want to get those removed so your body doesn't have to encapsulate it in cartilage. Okay. So yes. So future triggers are anything that's laying dormant, because the reason why I know about future triggers is because I know about the human body. The human body is universal. And the human body does not have suicide contracts in it. So when I see somebody that is 45 years old, that was running and eating healthy and runs their own business, and they're like the star of their community up there in Sacramento, and they drop from rheumatoid arthritis, I realized that was a virus or some kind of future trigger, dormant, latent virus, parasite or something that came to surface, because I'm telling you, people that exercise are destroying themselves, and you can see it. Look at all the Olympians, all the Olympic athletes. They're actively aging, and their body, and look at all the different, the football players and all that stuff. Their body is destroyed. It's because heavy exercise destroys the body. All right. So that's a future trigger, is when someone drops from an autoimmune disorder in the middle of their career, in the middle of their life. And that is a future trigger, and you want to nip that in the bud before you guys drop. That's why you have to start this as early as possible so you take care of those future triggers. How do you get those future triggers? Arguable, vaccines, environmental pollutions, to exposures in your mom's uterus, because your mother is carrying all the viruses, because family history. All right. Family history is a misnomer as far as DNA, because people think that DNA is like permanent, and that because your mom has breast cancer, it means that you're going to get it because it's in the DNA. They say it's in the DNA. When in a way, it's true, because yeast is DNA. Yeast is part of the body. And what makes it to where you can pass down that family history of illness is when the yeast has those virus microbes and the parasites that are being passed from mother to child in utero, whether it's in breast milk, whether it's in anything like, spit, whatever. All of that is in of course, all the bodily fluid inside the womb. All right. So all that's being passed to the child, and then the child's DNA is being impacted because they've inherited and were, exposed to the mother's extra candida, the virus microbes, and the parasites. So now people have the opportunity to erase their family history of illness, and also potentially erase, well, no, because your body can learn stuff. So never mind on that. But yes, you have the potential to erase all your family history of illness. Okay. And that's why, right now people are taking on like fecal transplants and all that, because they're taking on someone else's bacteria and parasites to think that they're going to have like the same aptitudes and the same, body structure and whatever. And then what happens is there's parasites and all that stuff lay eggs, and the body is back to what it was before. Horrific. All right. So what we're doing is we're actually with the healing symptoms, with the future triggers, as well as the past issues and present issues, is we're inducing the immune system to work the way it's supposed to, which means that when you have so much damage to the body and you give it what it needs, not the vaccines, but you give it the nutrition that it needs, it will then start working for you involuntarily, which means that it's going to purge, that's what the waterfalls are. All right. So when you go to my group and you look up waterfalls is a massive purging. It is pushing out what doesn't belong. Okay. It pushes out the shit that's in your body, all the extra chemicals that you've been retaining, all the parasites, even foreign objects that don't belong. Once your body heals and regenerates, let's say you had a stent, wire mesh, things that are able to be purged out safely, that will be coming out once the body's healed. Okay. So it's not going to just purge out your breast implants. All right. It's not just going to purge out your pacemaker. It's going to fix those areas first and then figure out what to do with that pacemaker or that stent or that mesh or that wire thing, whatever it is. It will encapsulate it in cartilage. It will do something with it. Okay. To save you. All right. So you got to trust your body to know what it does with these things. All right. So what we're doing is we're triggering the immune system effectively, which no other health professional has been able to do that I know of, because we're not living past 100. Some people are living past 100 because they weren't exposed to as many vaccines, and that's a few generations ago. But people are dying off at an early age. So no one is triggering the immune system effectively, because what it means to trigger your immune system effectively is to regenerate. When you regenerate cells, which is the healing symptoms, is basically regenerating more cells than it's degrading, which is then going to prolong your life. When you prolong your life, it means that you're going to potentially live forever if you don't walk out in front of a truck, or you don't, put yourself in any risky situation to have you die. Okay. Which means that your brain has to be working at a very high functioning level, not at a death level of, I'm going to go jump out of a plane and skydive. Okay. So you're going to be making much wiser choices, which means that you're not going to be killing yourself off, but also you're going to be regenerating cells. Because if you can cut your hand, right? A paper cut, let's take the most minor thing, a paper cut. If that can heal and not stay open forever, then yes, I'm going to make a leap and say the Down syndrome person can regenerate their cranial structure and potentially look and feel and act like a contributing member of society that doesn't need government agencies and other people to help them. They can actually protect themselves. All right. So I'm going to make that leap. So yes, cell regeneration is potentially reversing the aging process and potentially living forever if you're not throwing yourself in front of a bus. All right. So the healing symptoms are going to be something that can be pretty horrific for some people. So you just have to understand that when you are dealing with healing symptoms, which I do cover in the group, you're going to have to, measure it against your waterfalls. And if you're doing a bunch of waterfalls, you're going to have healing symptoms. And if the healing symptoms become too much, then you can pull back. And then I'll talk about the diet in a minute. All right. But you guys have the complete control of how fast you heal and how slow you heal. So obviously, if you don't drink as much of my stuff, then you're not going to heal as fast. You will get healing, but it won't be as fast. And you better stay on the diet, because also too, it's not just a diet, it's the area that you live in. If you're constantly under attack, chemtrails and Wi-Fi radiation and all that stuff, and then you're only doing like 1 or 2 cups, chances are the elements around you are going to overtake you more than you're regenerating. So your cell degradation is going to happen faster than your regeneration. So that's why you have to keep increasing the dosages all the time relative to what you can handle. All right. Thank you, Joaquin. So you guys really need to understand that waterfalls and dosages and the specific measurable results, which are reversing the aging process and 100% healing and 100% reversal in all of your issues. Okay. That's how you know how much nutrition you're getting. So you'll go to the group and you'll find out that information. So the diet. So people have given me crap about the diet, and I get it, and I understand, but I've made this accessible to everybody, to carnivores, vegans, vegetarians, omnivores, whatever. All right. Not cannibals. All right. But the diet, which is chicken, eggs, fruits and vegetables, raw seeds, raw nuts, and good oils. Okay. That's what the original, how I said it, which is sort of vague on some levels. So it does leave room for a lot of interpretation. So I'm going to be more specific. The chicken, don't make it rotisserie chicken. Just whatever chicken you can find, whether it's Walmart chicken or the organic chicken down the road from the chicken farm that you know is free range, whatever. The reason why I pick chicken is because I know I have carnivores that come onto my diet or onto my protocol, and they can't possibly give up meat or any animal-based protein. So chicken is the next best thing. And that's fine. All right. Eggs. Everybody loves eggs. I don't eat eggs anymore. But eggs is another way to make you feel full, give you, something to work with, since people, don't want to get off their usual diet for the most part. And they need to feel like, life is worth something, because our life has been surrounded by food. So we got to give people something to work with, right? So you have the eggs. Now with the fruits cannot be lemons or limes because those are used as detoxes. All right. There is no honey and sugar and all that stuff on this diet. But the fruit can be basically any fruit, but not dried fruit, and do not cook your fruit. Dried fruit makes it a condensed sugar, for one. And number two, that's for one, it's condensed sugar. And then cooking your fruit, you're cooking out all the nutrients, and now you're left with just the sugar. So don't cook your fruit unless, and I say this is the exception, bananas. I'm allowing you guys to make banana pancakes because I know you guys miss your banana pancakes. So you make eggs and mixed bananas, and you can fry it up in coconut oil. Okay, that's your treat. Eventually, you're not going to want that anymore, but I give you guys something, as a treat, so that way you have something to look forward to, especially when your life has been focused on food. So that's the fruit. The vegetables, no legumes. Okay, because legumes are full of starch and crappy and nucky and whatever. And the vegetarians and vegans love it because that's what they think, that they get all their protein. And really, you don't need as much protein as you think, because protein does aid you. And you'll be able to maximize the nutrition in the cabbage and the kale and in the diet to be able to get enough protein. Okay, so don't fall into that whole thing by getting enough protein, because yes, you are. Okay, and then vegetables, and you can cook your vegetables, you can steam it, whatever. Raw seeds, don't cook your seeds. Raw seeds, you get the maximum nutrition out of raw seeds. All right, but not flax seeds. Flax seeds are a estrogen. It has estrogen or promotes estrogen or something. Flax seeds are horrible. Google it, but it's processed and it's nasty and it's horrible. Okay, but so chia seeds, sunflower seeds, and sesame seeds, as long as they're raw, not a big deal. Just don't cook them. Don't make any nut butters or nut flours or anything out of that. So that's the seeds, raw seeds. Okay, and then raw nuts. So don't make any nut butters, but you guys, it's fine if you do. Just don't buy the nut butters from the store. If you make, and now of course we're not doing peanut butter, right? But nut butter such as almond, okay. But I say in the beginning, and you'll see it in my group, why no nut butters? It's because people get lazy and they go buy the nut butter in the store and think that it's okay. No. And I'm not going to hold a class on how to make nut butter. So I just say across the board, no nut butters, to make it easy. Just chew and swallow. But some of you have issues with your teeth or have issues with digestion, and you need to soak your nuts, and you need to make it into a paste. Fine, whatever. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. Okay. Yes, hemp. All right. So that's the nuts. And the nut milk, you don't even need to make nut milk. Just, if you're going to make smoothies, that's fine. People make like their own little nut dressing. Okay, fine, whatever. I'm not going to get too rigid over that. Okay, just make sure it's all raw and it's all homemade and no additives and all that crap. Okay, and the good oils. All right, there's a lot of controversy, but let's just make it simple. Coconut oil, which we hear is antibiotic, and we know it's a little bit antibiotic. Remember, not all antibiotics are created equal, because coconut oil is not the same antibiotic level as garlic oil. Those two are very different, because coconut oil, the carrier oils, have a less antibiotic effect than the other essential oils. Okay, so and yes, I do allow the potatoes in there. all right? Because potatoes does have nutritional benefit, and it gives people something to look forward to too. And eventually you won't even want potatoes down the road, all right? So, and yes, you can cook your tomatoes as well. But the oils is coconut oil, avocado oil, and what did I put? Grapeseed oil, and that's fine. Make sure they're all really natural oils. No canola oil or vegetable oil or peanut oil, none of that crappy oil. But I keep it really simple. Coconut oil or olive oil or avocado oil, and you're fine. Don't worry about cooking it and saying that, oh, it creates all these crazy, oxidation or something. And I'm like, no. I use coconut oil and I cook with it. I've used it on a lot of my stuff. Everything is fine. So don't get caught up in, oh my gosh, cooking the oils is bad for you. No. Potatoes are fine. All right. And also, too, the reason why I'm allowing fruit on my diet is because this is not the Candida diet. Okay? The difference between the Candida diet and my diet is the Candida diet does not have the massive amounts of volume of my recipe that you guys are getting with mine. Okay? The Candida diet only just starves and detoxes. But then you go back to your old ways, right? Because you can only starve and detox for so long before, and the body isn't regenerating because you haven't healed and sealed the gut. So you're going to go back to your old ways anyways. And my protocol not only seals and heals, but it also regenerates and it purges. So that's why you're able to have fruit, but not juicing your fruit, because we don't need that shock of sugar, especially some of you. Now, some of you cannot have fruit, and that's why I say listen to your body. Some of you cannot have certain vegetables because you're anaphylactic, not histamine intolerant. You're anaphylactic, and that is something that like peanut allergy, which there's no peanuts on this anyways. But let's say you have a nut allergy. You guys can pick and choose what it is that you don't want to eat on the diet. You just can't add to it, okay? So, but when you're taking my juice, it's going to offset any potential, of feeding the candida or the parasites, but you're also feeding your body nutrition. And that's why I don't worry about the stuff that's in the chicken or in the eggs, because everything that's around you, whether you're being exposed to the chemtrails, to the dryer sheets, to your detergents, to your Wi-Fi radiation, you've been exposed to all these crazy, toxins, and you're still alive, mutated as hell, but you're still alive. So now that you're actually infusing your body with my drink, my recipe, it's going to offset all of your exposure. So you're not going to worry about it, and you're going to heal in spite of that. And your whole diet and your purview of food and life is going to change, completely change. So right now, yeah, you may be eating chicken, you may be eating eggs, you may be eating potatoes, and you might be eating bananas, you may be even frying your bananas, and that's fine. Just drink a lot of my drink. And then eventually, you're not going to want the chicken on a daily basis. You're not going to want the eggs. You're not going to want the potatoes. Okay? So and this is a gradual process. We're not shocking your system into a diet that doesn't make sense for you. Where the equalizing thing is my juice. That's the thing that keeps everything together, is my juice. You don't do my juice, then you can't possibly get the healing that you're looking for. Okay? So, that's the difference between all the different diets that are out there. The Mediterranean diet, the Atkins diet, the whatever diets. They're all just fads, and they're all just temporary, obviously, or we wouldn't have so many damn different diets. But the juice on my diet is the thing that tips all of this over the edge, which makes it different than every other diet out there. Okay? But we don't want to actively feed and fight the candida, which is, don't be eating crazy sugars. Don't be drinking coffee and creamer, though I know some of you are, and that's okay. But don't be eating like bagels and cream cheese and cookies, cakes, and candies and think that you're going to get any kind of benefit, because that's not going to happen. You're going to be feeding and fighting the candida, and you'll be chronically ill for the rest of your life. So I'm trying to give you guys at least a leg up in this, but still be able to enjoy some of the stuff that you like, okay, without going overboard. All right. So who can do this? Anybody can do this. Anybody, except for major organ transplant patients and surrogate mothers. Because surrogate mothers have a foreign DNA in their body, which is that egg, that fetus that doesn't belong to them, and we don't want them to purge out the baby. But babies in general, if it's from your eggs and from your uterus and all that stuff, they're not a foreign object, because every mother has a reproductive system. Every female has a reproductive system made to reproduce. create babies. Every male has a reproductive system to hold sperm to fertilize that egg. Okay, and that's how you create a baby. All right. So, however, if you are a major organ transplant patient person that has a major organ transplant, such as like a heart, or a missing lung, and then one transplant lung, and then a liver, we don't want your body to shut down because the body was trying to protect itself. And maybe, and I don't want to test it if someone wants to test it in a very controlled circumstance, but I don't know how you'd test it, because let's say you're on dialysis, all right? That's a backup system for your kidney, for those who are missing a kidney, all right? So that's how I'd be comfortable with someone, knowing that there's a backup system for your body. The thyroid, if you're missing a thyroid, you can do this. Okay, if you're on thyroid medication, you can do this. Never telling anyone to get off their medications. You will be the one to determine when you get off the medication, because it is looked at as a toxin, an extra toxin. The body has to factor in, and then eventually you will decide, okay, by how you feel and what your intentions are. All right. Hey, everybody. So that's fine. Stem cells are not major organs, you guys. Don't make this difficult. Major organs are heart, both lungs, and a liver. Everything else can be handled and dealt with. Blood transfusions, yes, you can do it with the blood transfusion, because you need the blood, you need the platelets, and all the crap that's in the blood is what's causing your issues, right? So yeah, I mean, knee replacements, hip replacements, you got stuff in your back. Yeah, you guys are going to have to integrate Western medicine at some point, especially if you have so much Western medicine in your body. I mean, if you're half man and half machine, then, it's going to be something that you're going to have to be under a doctor's care, because, I mean, if you have a prosthetic, you're going to have to watch and see what's going on with that. So remember, not everybody can just do this at home and be comfortable. Some of you are going to have to bring in Western medicine to help watch over you. Not to say that the body is going to destroy you. However, you're going to be like, what the hell is going on here? When you have a prosthetic arm or a leg, well, it doesn't even matter, because you know what? You have a stump there, and you'll see that stump. You'll feel pain in that stump. That's why I want people that are veterans in the U.S., in the U.S. military or European military or whatever, that has nothing to lose, no fear, really, wants to, that understands the concepts, willing to do this. Yes, Deanna, everything, metal on your feet, everything. All right. So nothing is discriminated in your body when it comes to healing. The body will deal with every single foreign object in it. I mean, we had a lady that talked about, with the stent. One stent was going to, gave her a heart attack, but it didn't destroy her. It was going to happen regardless, because it was going to block one of her arteries. But then her body was able to utilize the other alternative arteries and able to get blood to where it needed to go, to where it didn't kill her. So the body saved her. Okay. So you guys have to realize that your body is going to find a way to save you from all the mess that you put it through. So babies can do this. I know this has been controversial, but you want to dilute this for your baby, but your baby was born with a toxic gut because it came from a toxic uterus, and they're going to have, they're potentially not going to get waterfalls per se, but they're going to have diarrhea like any other baby would. And you're going to make this intention for the baby. You're not going to give it a gallon a day. You're just going to give it whatever small little dosages and dilution that you need to, just like any probiotic you give to children. All right. You'd make it to where it's appropriate for the baby size. And I'm sure anyone that's a mother understands that, because they wouldn't obviously give like a gallon of milk to their baby if the baby is a baby. Come on. All right. Pregnant mothers can do this. Absolutely. It's not going to purge the pregnancy, no matter what you guys have been told. I know you guys have been told a lot of stuff and fear about this, but it's all about the table salt. That's what causes all of those idiotic, things that go on in the body that have made people get all scared about, giving this to pregnant mothers. But yes, they can do this because you're rebuilding and regenerating cells, and the baby is going to get the most excellent foundation that it otherwise would not have, gotten or received if it wasn't on this protocol. And look too, when you are purging out the toxins. You're wondering like, oh my gosh, my baby didn't get an influx of the parasites. No, because the baby has its own filtration process that it's rebuilding and purging and creating. And it's going to be able to process out all the toxins that's been exposed to, just like the mother. Okay, because remember, you're rebuilding and purging at the same time simultaneously. You're not just doing a detox. So this is safe for babies and mothers and breastfeeding. So when the baby is breastfeeding, it's going to get all the nutrients, but it's not going to get all the toxins because whatever toxins it's been exposed to, it's going to be filtered out anyways. All right. So, so there's babies and mothers, kids, adults, older people in the geriatric community, which is people that are at their last breath of life. If you're in your 70s and your 80s, you can do this. You just have to understand everything that's involved. Because I want to see you look younger than your driver's license. And that's a specific and measurable result in all of this, okay? Is reversing the aging process. That is the maximum specific measurable result, because we're all living from the whole point of cancer, disease, and chronic illness. And that's, fine. That's what you're trying to reverse now. But really, where you guys want to keep pushing for is reversing the aging process to the point of where you're looking like in your 20s and 30s if you're like in your 40s, 50s, and 60s. Okay? That's exactly what you want to shoot for. So people are asking, how do I know how much nutrition I'm getting? It's when you start feeling the healing symptoms and you are reversing the aging process. All right? So that's how you measure it. Do not use tests to measure it. I mean, you could just for like, for shits and giggles. But tests are really not any kind of barometer you want to use because they are skewed for intention. And the measurable results are within you. You have to be the one to now understand how your body works. No more anyone else overseeing your body. You are now in charge of your body. So, and that is a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people because they are not used to being in charge of anything, much less their own body. So, so there is my speech for the day. Any questions? Let's see. Yeah, stem cells can be, purged out and then rebuilt. And let's see. Yeah, I mean, you guys have an amazing, access to something that's potentially going to be, oh my gosh, it's going to give you so much life. And we don't know what the future holds for a lot of us, so we really have to be aggressive with this. But anyways, you're welcome, Sherry. And then you're welcome, Vanessa. And let's see if there's anything else I want to cover. Good. I'm glad you understood everything. I'm glad you understood it all. Because it's pretty self-explanatory. Not really, but thank you. Hey, Billy, thank you. I appreciate all your contribution and activity in the group. I mean, you guys are awesome for even taking this on. Thanks, Rob. I'm practicing at some point. Thanks, Kevin. I'm practicing for when I actually do give a speech out there in the world, because I don't know how long I've been on, but I'm going to have to do something like this when I'm talking to, whether it's 100 people or 2,000 people, and I have to kind of get used to covering a lot of information. But I think this is enough to get people interested to understand. And then when I do have that membership website, that will be more of a reinforcement support. So that's kind of how I'm going to roll with this. And that way people can at least get the seeds planted. And then, thank you, Mary Ellen. Thank you. So I want to plant seeds. And then I want to, and then I know I could probably polish it up even better, but it's just kind of like, I wanted to see how much I can cover without taking for years. But yeah, so there you go. All right, so it looks like you guys are all good. I'm going to have my day, go wake my husband up because he's still sleeping. And yeah, I'll be lurking here and there. I'll figure out if, I don't know, hopefully Facebook will fix my glitch on my wall. So, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. All right, you guys have a good Sunday. I'll talk to you later. Rhett, you're going to have to go to my group, okay? I'm all right. I'll guys talk to you later.